Hello, welcome to Hansraj e-Samvaad, a center of learning under Ministry of Education, Government of India, established under the aegis of Pandit Madan Mohan Malviya National Mission on Teachers and Teaching. I welcome you all. My name is Piyush Chaudhary, Assistant Professor at the Department of English at Hansraj College, University of Delhi. I welcome you to a new lecture series, to a new podcast series, in fact. And I firmly believe that if we want to reach out to the larger world, if we want to enhance the Bharatiya presence across the world, and also, when we talk of a sort of a cultural dissemination of Indian and Bharatiya ideas, then it is extremely essential to understand that we cannot do so unless we make Indian literature reach the West. Similarly, when we talk of a Viksit Bharat, then we cannot do so unless we disseminate the Bharatiya culture and Bharatiya literature all across the globe. And in disseminating Bharatiya literature in the West, we need to first and foremost understand the idea of Indian aesthetics. We need to know what Indian aesthetics actually mean. Today, to discuss this important intervention in literary studies, we have with us Dr. Devender Singh. Dr. Singh has been a former government advisor who played a crucial role during the abrogation of Article 370. He was actually involved directly in the think tank and the advisory board of the government, which ultimately led to a landmark legislation in Indian history, and that is the abrogation of Article 370. Dr. Singh, however, is firstly an academician. He's a professor of English at University of Delhi. He's also an administrator, a playwright, a policymaker, a public speaker, and a motivational speaker as well. Currently, Dr. Devender Singh is also serving as the Joint Dean, Academic Affairs at the University of Delhi. So he's donning multiple hats and acing all of them. Today we are here to discuss on a literary topic. As I mentioned, Dr. Singh will be the resource person on Indian aesthetics. And in carrying forward, I would say, this legacy of Indian literature across the world, Dr. Singh has been working relentlessly since the past 1 decade. One of the major areas in which he has worked is the Indian aesthetics and disseminating the idea of Indian aesthetics to lead to what I can call an enlargement of taste. So basically this enlargement of taste, this is required. This basically means how we can enlarge the taste, how we can carry and spread Bharatiya ethos, how we can carry and spread Bharatiya poetics and Indian literature from the ancient till the modern and carry it to the hands of the West and to place it alongside the literature of the West. This will indeed serve to become a canonical shift. It will lead to a canonical shift in literary criticism both in the East as well as in the West. And I firmly believe that this can only be achieved if we ensure that the idea of Indian poetics and Indian aesthetics reaches the West and enters their cultural and literary spheres of influence. This will then generate a new critical terminology and will lead to a new shift in literature and culture. In this direction, we just need to look towards Indian poetics and towards Indian aesthetics. So on this note, let me now straight away take you to the podcast. Without any further delay, I'm sitting right next to Dr. Devender Singh. Let's go. We welcome you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Piyush.
Sir, would you like to, the audience would love to know the basics of Indian aesthetics, like beginning from the very, initial stages. So how would you introduce, Indian aesthetics to an audience who doesn't know about it?
Aesthetics, in fact, remains almost similar across the generations, across the civilizations. Across globe, it is almost similar, but people have interpreted it in a different way. So far as aesthetics in our civilization, in Indian continent especially, subcontinent is concerned, so I keep telling people in my lectures, and I just interpret this term in a very, very special way. When you think of creation, you need aesthetics. No creation, no aesthetics. Destruction in this world doesn't need aesthetics.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, there is no aesthetics of destruction. You can destroy anything without destruction.
Mm-hmm.
So this is just creation where you need aesthetics. In the process of creation, aesthetics plays a very, very important role. No creation can happen without aesthetics. So this is how everybody must interpret aesthetics. If you really want to be creative, or you have creative temperaments, creative bent in mind, you need to be very, very aesthetic in temperament.
Wonderful. But sir, don't you think that the definition that you have just now given about the origin of aesthetics, this is in complete opposition to what has been told to all of us?
It is actually not the definition. It is the way to interpret this word.
Okay.
Now I'll tell you the definition.
Yes.
Okay. What generally we deal with in the literary world, there's a different definition. Okay. In literary world, it is interpreted as science plus philosophy of art.
Right.
Okay. This is the definition, very short definition, and people then explain this definition in different way. But aesthetics primarily, it deals with science of your art plus philosophy of your art. Now I'll let you know or let the audience know what are the scientific elements and what are philosophical elements.
Absolutely.
Okay. So far as science is concerned, if you look at the creation of this world, okay, we are here because of this world. We are being created, we were created, okay, and we will be something that there is a power that will keep us creating. Okay. So in the process of creation, and if you look at the creation of this world first, nothing happens in vacuum. Everything, every minute substance of this world is scientific. So is art. Okay, nothing happens in vacuum. What are the elements which are scientific? Because people sometimes they raise questions. Some questions crop up in mind when you think of science and art. Okay, because we generally have made two different faculties.
Yes.
Okay, art deals with something else, whereas science is dealing with something else. So what are scientific elements? Actually, there is no difference between art and science. Okay. Now let me tell you, if you deal with a particular text, okay, there are some scientifically approved and scientifically proven elements in a text. Okay. In a piece of text, suppose you know what is the language, which is very scientific. Okay. Any language, I'm not talking about one particular language. Of course, in our civilization, there are some languages which are sacred, but sound is sacred in my opinion, sound is sacred.
Sound is sacred.
Okay, and and later on I'll let you know why sound is sacred. When you talk about a piece of text, it is having particular pattern which is scientific. You need to write in that pattern. Okay, look at those our great classics and the great epics of the world. Okay, they follow particular meter which is scientific. You cannot deviate yourself from those meters if you really want to compose that kind of work. And in the modern world, even in the 18th century, when we deal with English literature, look at the text or look at the poems created or written, composed by Alexander Pope. So at one particular, he was so particular about meter.
Absolutely. The neoclassicals.
Yeah, neoclassical. He explains at one instance that there should be no extra syllable.
Yeah.
And he says, how can you achieve this label and this perfection? True ease in writing comes through art, not by chance. Those move easiest who have learned to dance. So this comes out of practice. So language, devices, then meter of language, and there are many other things associated to the text. You have two meanings, sometimes three meanings of text. So one of them is fixed, which is surface meaning. So these are scientific elements. Okay. Which then philosophy. Philosophy means what message do you convey and what message has been perceived by the audience or the readers. Okay, that is philosophical element, which is there is always a gap between what you deliver and what people receive. This is because of philosophy. Because no two people can think alike in this world.
Absolutely.
Okay, and whatever they are listening, that has been interpreted by their mind as per their competence. So this is the combination. Aesthetics is the combination of the two.
Wonderful. I think this is a very philosophical and a very novel definition that you have put forward.
Right.
As far as I can figure out, it's a very different way of looking at the Indian aesthetics. But sir, when we talk about Indian aesthetics, we tend to compare it and contrast it with the Western aesthetics. So can you also elaborate and explain the basic differences between Indian aesthetics and Western aesthetics, and your take, your opinion on these two categories?
Piyush, in the beginning of this talk, I have already told you that there is no difference. Okay, if you take the basic element, if you deal with the basic element of aesthetics, there is no difference. But of course, when you look at the different civilizations and their way of living, that makes the difference. Why this is important to study Indian aesthetics? Because we will have to go back to the creation of this world, and as per our study, as per our classics, the world was created out of a Sunya. Okay,
the idea of Shunya.
And the journey of aesthetics begins from Sunya to Shabd.
Shunya to Shabd.
Yeah.
Right.
So this is a journey. And when you talk about Lord Shiva, okay, so this is the difference. Okay, to them aesthetics is purely material.
Material, yeah.
To us, it is spiritual.
It is spiritual.
So when you deal with the creation of this world and look at the theories of creation and look at the role of Lord Shiva in creating this world, so you find in the classics, and which is very scientific, because it will take another 1 hour if I explain, but briefly I am telling you.
Yes.
With the help of his drum, he created 14 sounds. 14 sounds which are totally scientific, and all other sounds have been created out of those 14 sounds. Okay, so what is the general perception about Lord Shiva? He is the destroyer.
Right.
Okay. Now let me prove here he is the creator one.
Creator also.
Okay. He created sound in this world, right? And with the help of those sounds, we created different languages, different type of music, and different type of even dance. So dance itself is creative. How can you say that Tandav is destructive?
The cosmic dance of Lord Shiva?
Yeah, cosmic dance of Lord Shiva, and these 14 sounds, they are called Maheshwar Sutra. Okay, Maheshwar Sutra, and they were later on taken by different linguists, and they have been explained, because they could not do anything what he created, but they interpreted it, and they made their own mixed their own ideas, and they made it fit to the layman, that these are the sounds, but they are very, very scientific. So Lord Shiva created sound. When once you create sound, because it is there in your brain. Now Chomsky has proved that you are born with linguistic capacity.
Yes.
Okay, in our Mahabharata we know it very well, that you perceive something, you learn something even in the womb of your mother through sounds only, nothing else.
You're talking about Abhimanyu.
Abhimanyu.
Right.
So you are learning everything through sounds. Okay, and that sounds decides the aesthetic element in your brain. Okay, so this is the difference. We take it as spiritual thing, and in the Western world, they they are confined to matter only, creating buildings, giving different shapes to their buildings, and they are creating a world outside. We are creating a world within.
That's very philosophical.
Yeah.
And that's the right way. Since you mentioned, one of the key takeaways of this podcast will be that you mentioned that we consider Lord Shiv to be the destroyer, but he's also the creator.
He is the creator.
Right. But sir, when we talk about creation, of course, I cannot skip this part that it was Bharat Muni who created the Natya Shastra, and how, so any one or two significant achievements that you can tell me about how Bharat Muni, how he has contributed to the idea of aesthetics, not just in India, but globally. Any one or few contributions?
One thing which I would like to mention to the audience of this podcast or this program, Lord Shiva is considered to be the first nut. Okay, nut means one who performs. He is the first performer. Okay,
right.
So if you talk about all performing arts, okay, be the disciple of Lord Shiva. Okay, and Lord Shiva is the first Nataraj. Okay, and if you look at the feet of Nataraj.
Hmm.
So Nataraj is dancing on a particular animal type thing.
Right.
Okay.
Hmm.
And that animal symbolizes ego.
Ah.
Okay.
Hmm.
Ahankar, which we call it. Okay.
Hmm.
Ego can be positive also.
Yes.
But this is destruction. Okay. So Lord Shiva's dance destroys within. Now what Bharat Muni did? Bharat Muni observed that dance, looked at the sounds, and looked at person within, what kind of emotions have been created through those sounds.
Hmm.
Okay, so he gave the theory of sentiments,
Right.
9 principal sentiments. Okay, those sentiments, when delivered through sound, they evoke different emotions.
Right.
Emotions in the audience and the listener also. In the West, just only I think not more than 10% of this theory have been taken.
That's right.
Okay. We have studied Shakespeare, we have studied other people, but the theory of sentiment is very deep. Okay, we receive something, same thing is when we receive same thing, then it evokes something.
Hmm.
So the theory of sentiment, which he also called Ras.
Rasa.
So Ras theory, and what is the result of Ras? He calls Ananda,
Pleasure.
pleasure. And there is a difference between joy and pleasure. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
I repeat Keats' line, a
Mhm.
thing of beauty is joy forever.
Yes.
Okay? So this is rather responsible for joy, not pleasure. Pleasure is temporary actually.
Mm-hmm.
Joy is forever.
Ah.
That Keats has, he was a deep scientist of language actually. So Bharat Muni in his Natya Shastra talks about performance, effect of performance, like Aristotle. Of course, Aristotle tried to copy, okay, but we can't say that how much could the West copy
Hmm.
from our. But this theory is going across the globe. Ras theory, and almost all kinds of performances, they are based on Bharat Muni's performance theory.
Absolutely. This is the key takeaway, the second key takeaway, that this theory is going all over the world. And I think you have already begun, the journey has already begun. You have been working all over the world in several of the foreign universities. You have been going and taking forward the idea of Indian aesthetics. And this podcast also promises, to bring it to the masses from the ages of Hansraj College. So, sir, in the subsequent topics, what else will you be discussing? I think today we had a great discussion about the idea of Indian aesthetics, the idea of Shabd theory, the idea of Shunya, the cosmic dance, and what more can be there, in the subsequent lectures? What more can we expect?
I think this is not a complete discussion. We have just given you one basic idea of aesthetics and Indian aesthetics and the impact of Indian aesthetics and aesthetician in the this civilization. But later on, we should know who are the maestros.
Maestros, yeah, absolutely.
Okay, what has been their contribution? Bharat Muni is one of them, but there are many other people. Okay,
But the most prominent has always been Bharat Muni.
but Bharat Muni came later actually.
Okay.
Okay. I said that this is Lord Shiva, and then after Lord Shiva, there are many other phases, okay, which we need to know. How aesthetics developed over the years, over the centuries and millenniums, that we need to explain to the audience.
Absolutely.
And how the other people in the world, not only in India, they received it. So we need to discuss about those masters who took aesthetics as a tool and gave the world something unique. So,
But Dr. Singh, why do you think that only Bharat Muni, since you mentioned that there have been so many different aestheticians,
yes.
but why is it that, only Bharat Muni has came forward and not the others? Do you think this is some sort of a cultural hijacking, or what?
Not at all. Actually, Bharat Muni. Why Bharat Muni is important?
Yes.
Because when we talk about aesthetics, we generally think of performance.
We think
See,
of
where does performance come from? Let me tell you. Moment you take birth, okay, moment you come on this earth, you start performing, you cry. That's the first performance. Okay.
when a child
So your
cries.
life begins with performance
Ah,
and ends with performance.
wonderful.
Okay.
Yes.
So what is life? Between two things, when you breathe in and breathe out. Okay, between these two things, your life adjusts. And these two things goes to every particle, minute particle of your body. And sometimes when you feel those things that are closely related to your life. So life's theory is based on performance. No performance, no life. Okay. So you can be a Jad element. Okay, not dead but Jad element without performance. Or if you want to keep yourself active, read Bharat Muni, apply Bharat Muni. Performance doesn't mean on stage. The whole world is a stage. Okay, we have to act, and in what way can we act? Okay, this is life. That is why Bharat Muni is important, because he deals with life, and literature is the interpretation of life.
Literature is the interpretation of life. Another very valuable takeaway from the lecture today. So one of the last topics that I'll be discussing is the idea of Sahridyata. So would you like to throw some light on what is the role of Sahridaya in aesthetic experience? And if I'm pronouncing
Who
it right.
is Sahridaya? Actually, Sahridaya means somebody who is receiving your hridaya, your sentiment. There are two things mainly in our body, and your head and your heart. Okay, they keep you acting, they keep you in action. Okay, so when you because all sentiments, they are the faculty of your heart. Okay, which is philosophy, and all science, scientific elements, they are the product of your head. Okay, so we need to establish a good communication between head and heart. Okay, that needs aesthetics. So Sahridaya means something who is receiving your philosophical elements and interpreting them with his or her brain in the same way, whether it is a sensitive viewer or audience or listener or writer or reader, whosoever it may be. This Sahridyata is actually the most important requirement for the birth of aesthetic theory in a person. Okay, so aesthetics and aesthetic theory, they are two different things. Okay, theory gives birth to right aesthetics, and that is why we need Sahridyata.
So, sir, do you think that the audience watching this podcast today, and will that also, constitute the idea of Sahridyata?
I'm quite hopeful that if somebody is really keen, okay, and wants to inculcate some value in herself or himself, then Sahridyata is very necessary, which we apply in our classrooms also. And Sahridyata is also compared with sublimity. Okay, irrespective of age, culture, religion, gender, habits, if something is perceived well, it is Sahridyata, it is sublime. So this is actually sublime experience, and when you have spontaneous overflow, it is flowing and somebody is receiving, the job is done. So somebody who is keen in getting something out of this discussion will receive it with Sahridyata or with the good attachment.
What a great way. Thank you, sir. It was great to have you here. This is, as we all know, as the viewers know, this is the first series. We'll be releasing a list of other, podcasts as well in the coming weeks, because Indian aesthetics, as sir has, just touched the base. It's just the tip of the iceberg. It's a huge thing, and it's a huge enterprise. And I believe, sir, that we will be really happy to invite you on some other day, on some other podcast. I'm very sure the audience would be enlightened today with all the efforts and the Sahridyata on, the note on which Dr. Devender Singh ended the podcast today. So I will see you very shortly with Dr. Devender Singh again on the second lecture. I hope you all enjoy this lecture and keep sharing it with your friends and keep engaging in more such ideas about Indian aesthetics and Bharatiya culture. I wish you all the best. I'll see you very soon. Goodbye and Jai Hind.
Thank you very much. Thank you.